Welcome to the State of the University Address, and to get started, please welcome Sister Mary Beth to lead us in prayer.
Good afternoon. Today is the death anniversary of Mother Teresa Hackelmeyer, who is the foundress of my community, the Sisters of St. Francis of Oldenburg, Indiana, and ultimately the foundress of Marian University, because Marian started because of her need to teach people how to teach. So she was a pilgrim. She came from Vienna, Austria to the United States, to Oldenburg, in response to a need. I believe that we also are all pilgrims. We are all on a journey. So the prayer I chose for today is called A Holy Pilgrimage. It was written by a woman by the name of Beth Richardson, adapted a little bit from what she wrote. So as we begin, let us remember that we are in the presence of God, and God is always in our presence as we pray. We walk a holy journey we have never walked before, full of tears and gratitude, gentle conversations, silences filled with love. No one knows the way, but we meet each twist and turn with discernment and courage, hope and faith. We walk this pilgrimage in many ways by ourselves, but we are never truly alone. Others walk before us, behind us, beside us, surrounding us with love, wrapping us with hope, touching our spirit with peace. We are loved, we are held, we are God's. Amen.
You can let me up first. Thank you. You're very kind. You're sweet. Okay, the mic's on, huh? Homecoming week, here we are. Yeah, that's very good. That was a beautiful prayer considering our topic and all. And I want to welcome our friends at Ancilla and our education sites. And I don't know, I think St. Joe people are here, but we can do that either way. I know that some St. Joe people are here because I saw them. There they are, smiling and in their places. So today's a wonderful day to be with you. When you leave here, I think you'll have a good grasp of just brief highlight of where we're at, some of the progress we've made. More important, we're embarking on a Journey 2030, and it'll be a big theme, and I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that today in terms of what it means, why, and what for, what we're going to take along with us, where we hope to end up, what supplies we'll need, and how we'll need each other to be successful. We've learned a lot in our journey over the years, especially when you're reflective and analyze what we've done. But today really is taking what we've learned in the past and focusing on 2030 and always, always, always moving forward in faith. I think I'm supposed to move this. Yeah, look at that. I'm going to highlight a couple things. We could talk about Marian University, and I did the welcome back to campus talk, but I think there's a few things we ought to all remember to take stock of. You are part of a university that's a total outlier in really key factors. And I think this one, without any embellishment, tells a dramatic story, okay? If you look at us the last 5-6 years, and actually we use last year's numbers, more dramatic, you can look at a university that's grown by 24%. The other institutions of higher learning in the Midwest, really Marian and Purdue are the only ones that have done anything like this. You see dramatic growth by us. That's about a 30-point swing. And that's a pretty big deal. And we've all been part of that by being more distinctive, creating new programs, new opportunities, better marketing, great professors, great student services, powerful vision, a lot of enthusiasm, a beautiful campus. I saw Evan here. I got to give you some props. So we all work together and have done this. The other thing that's been quite amazing is during all this growth, and you don't realize it because we live here, we build new buildings, add new people, new programs, but at the same time, we've taken our endowment from puny to putting us in the ball game. We still have to double, triple it, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But we did that last 15 years, we did some adding up. And if someone would have said 15 years ago, you're going to spend $258 million on capital and build up $100 and some million endowment, I would have prayed harder because I know it's not possible. You can't do it. But we did it. We have a great board. We have many generous donors, and we did it. And we'll talk a little bit about why and what it took to do it today. We were thrown into a new category. There's a little less than 25 institutions of higher learning in the United States of America. And there's 423 that are national professional doctoral institutions. And we're one of those now. That's a new category for us. And if you want to name a top university in America, we'll find them in there. That's why it's kind of fun to be in the group, so to speak. Now, we want to build a great Catholic university, a great American city, and we have our own standards by which we judge great, right? We don't want to be like Yale or Harvard. That's no offense to them. We don't even want to be like Marian North. I see your logo there, maybe. You know that's Marian North. Did you know that? Okay. And by the way, your pay will be deducted 10% for wearing it. No, they're actually our friends, and I can take it and I give it back. Okay. But anyway, you know what I really found amazing in there? When they throw you in there, you have to learn the metrics and how to work your angles. Right away, we get into this top 423 groups of universities in America, and we're already, not quite in the middle of the pack, but fairly close to it. That's pretty impressive by a lot of metrics, retention, graduation. But what I was most excited about is this. Deep down in our bones, it's embedded and pronounced dramatically in the gospel stories. Jesus himself said, you don't leave people behind or on the side of the road. Everybody's worthy. And the Sister St. Francis and our founder, our ultimate founder, that understood the Christian message like almost nobody, St. Francis, was big in making sure reaching out to everybody. I mean, we have it a little easy compared to Francis. He cleaned sores out of lepers and that kind of thing. That's a little tougher work. Mother Teresa type of person. But we are good at bringing people from all sorts of backgrounds, economic and others, and helping them retain and graduate. And we'd like to take that to a whole nother level. But that's no ho-hum university. What a lot of universities have done once they get to the higher echelons of higher learning, they make a pivot and they start putting their money, they buy GPAs. In other words, they put a lot of effort and money in helping privileged people get more privilege. They don't ever state that on their website, but it kind of tends how they operate. We are going to stay very, very committed to finding ways to help everybody get to a real high standard of developing their God-given gifts, graduate, and go out and make a mammoth difference. It's not only in our calling and DNA and genes, but it's really what the world needs, a university like that. But to already be one of the top in social mobility in 423 top, and if you consider our resource base, it's very impressive, isn't it? It's very impressive. And that means people are pouring their heart and soul into these students and showing them and working off their assets and showing them what they can do and developing it. Very proud to be a part of a university like this. That's an outlier. So I'm calling this a little, what I think of as Marian 3.0. And this is how it lines out for us, folks. In 1851, Mother Teresa Hacklemeyer comes over to this wilderness, basically, okay? And they start to teach. There was 2 women here, joined the order, the Franciscans, and they started teaching children, and they started teaching young women how to teach. And that just exploded. And they started with a lot of grade schools, orphanages, and whatever. You know, if a farmer lost his wife, then he'd come over and say, here's my kids, I gotta go farm, and the sisters take them in and feed them and educate them, and that's just how it worked. And they made a big stand there in Oldenburg, and they started to spread out almost remarkably. Now, sometimes we feel a little resource constrained here, don't we? Can you imagine that operation, how they did it? Remarkable work. And they gained a reputation. They started in up a lot of states and different places, and eventually went overseas to Papua New Guinea and all sorts of places. But Marian 1.0 was the founding, was the building of a culture. That was the need in a wilderness area. In Marian 2.0, it was amazing. In the later part of the 1800s and in the 1900s, the population of America tripled, but the high school, number of high school students that wanted to go to high school grew by 90 times what it was, because people started understanding the power of education during the Industrial Revolution and all the changes. So the sisters saw the need to go way beyond a primary school, and the teachers, all they had to have was, even if they graduated from high school, they were one of the smarter people in the village, and the sisters would throw on normal school and then the 2-year college, a junior college. Well, then it became very clear that teachers had to have a bachelor's degree, a strong liberal arts education. So Marian 2.0, the sisters with very few resources in Oldenburg, Indiana, get a 4-year college, liberal arts college, accredited. That spun Marian up in a whole new level of service. Then a year later, during the Depression in Marian 2.0, they saw the need to be in a city to grow. Again, sparse resources, difficult times. And that was their role, and they did a great job, and they built this place. They built the values, the idea of quality education, reaching out to people of different backgrounds. Marian 3.0 is today. In 2006 and 7, we talked about it. 2009, we said we're going to build a great Catholic university. It seemed like a preposterous undertaking and venture here, but we did it from a small college. Now we serve almost 6,000 students. We have doctoral programs. Again, we're a national professional research university. And this Marian 3.0, when we put a stake down and say, what does the world need today? What would it be to be a great university, illumined by the light of faith in everything we do, serving students of diverse backgrounds, making a big impact in the professions like education, healthcare. We have a medical school we didn't have. This first 20 years of this century have been remarkable for this institution. Literally remarkable. I showed you some of the statistics. But it's been a wonderful venture. And so we're on this Marian 3.0 journey because there's a lot more work to do in the various things that we've committed to. So, how have we done it? Over the years, we've developed this Marian promise. We've articulated it in different ways, and we've always had it in different manners, but we're becoming very good, I believe, in understanding this promise and working at it very, very hard. What's our promise? A Marian education will lead you to a good life and success in your professional endeavors, no matter where the education takes place. Oklahoma City, Nashville, Tennessee, beautiful campus of Ancilla, you name it. That's our commitment. We're going to educate you to have a good life and be successful in your professional endeavors, plural, because people change a lot. How do we do it? Number one, we provide an education illumined by the light of faith. That tells us our values. There's a dignity in every human being. Doesn't matter what they look like, how much money they came from, cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every person has inestimable worth, and we're going to treat them like that. And they're a whole person. They're not just a unit to better educate and give some skills so they can make more money. That's a very different education. That's a whole education. That takes a strong liberal arts background. It takes prayerfully considering constantly our values and how we treat people and how we see people and how we see their gifts and worth. Number two, we have high academic standards. If a student's struggling, we don't lower the standard. We build them up. We meet with them after class and in the evening, whatever it takes to go to the standard. You do not lower the standard. God's precious gift of a human being deserves high standards, high competence, so we work to that. The third thing we promise, and we've been I got to thank, of course, Dr. Silva's our leader, but Dr. Osika and others work so hard to be innovative, active learners, to put together an education. I was listening to our nursing students the other day with a donor. I didn't even walk, I floated out of that room. They were a total endorsement of our university. The other evening I was meeting with some education students with the professor, working with them. Everywhere I go, med school, all the scientists, the young people here, they're led by our scientists, just simply remarkable. I was up at Ancilla last week, and the work they're doing is awesome, and it's just moving forward. But active, creative, involved learning in the classroom, in the university setting with scholarly activity and the research agendas that are developing here, it's remarkable. The fourth thing we do to fulfill that promise is to actually teach leadership. Our world, you don't have to look much farther than the politicians, is begging and crying for better leadership. Look at the jams. Misguided leaders get so many millions of people in. You don't have to look farther than Ukraine, do you? Just a lot of human slaughter for no reason. No good reason. We need leaders in small ways, in schools and in hospitals and everywhere, that have some value that gives them a larger purpose, a larger calling, a higher standard to advance human flourishing. So we have a promise. Come to Marian. We'll prepare you to have a good life and be successful in your professional endeavors, and we know how to do it. Now, there's a lot underneath there, right? But it's really a big challenge to do that. How do we fulfill the promise? Day in and day out, it's always going to be people. We got to hire the right people. We got to nurture right people. We got to build them up. I don't know how this group was selected, but they looked like a good group, so I put them up. If you don't happen to be in there, maybe you ought to attend Community Day or something. I don't know. I think that's when we did this. I don't know. They look happy enough. I didn't make it either. Then when you get the right people, you got to pick the right vehicle depending on the scope of where you're going. And at Community Day, I said, I'm trading in the Marian University locomotive, the 8,000 horsepower locomotive. It's not going to get a great university where we need to go. You have all that we're doing here. A national university has to be a global university. You can't educate a leader and not have a global approach. So you look at our transformational journey work, and you look at the professors now and the various opportunities and our students getting Fulbright scholarships one after another, et cetera. And you look at the number of students on our campus from other countries, it's really remarkable how we've grown in that area, and we'll continue to grow in that area. We will be a global centered, so we're going to need a cruise ship. Maybe Marian 4.0 will do a SpaceX thing, but for now, we're going to do this because the aircraft go too fast. This gives us a little time in the boat to get to know and play, et cetera. But it's a pretty good size ship. It's a lot bigger than a locomotive. And that's the vehicle we'll travel. Every big journey, Marian 3.0, Journey 2030, you have to have a plan. You have to have are we on course or off course? We built a very good plan. We kept our vision about transformational leadership. Our mission, be very careful to read the changes because they're simple, but they seem simple, but they're profound. We're a great Catholic university dedicated to excellence in learning. So who are we? We're a Catholic university, a distinctively faith-based institution. We have the Catholic traditions, very rich intellectual tradition, values, social teaching, etc. Excellence in learning. How do we achieve excellence in learning? Great teaching, scholarly activity, and research. We added that. We used to say our mission was teaching and learning. We want to be exceptional learners. You've heard the old thing, learners inherit the world, earth, I don't know, the future, everything. And that's what we're doing here. We have very clear strategic pillars, access and success, faith and action, and our STEM program. In a modern world with technology growing, you need two things to work together. We have to be strong in engineering, strong in science, math, computer engineering, that whole works. It's got to be embedded in a liberal arts degree, and Dr. Silva again, and our academic leadership that we've put together to double and triple our efforts. That'll make Marian distinctive and prepares us well for the 2030 journey. We have that in there. We have our goals and objectives. We have a way to measure our progress. And so we have a vision of where we're going. We have a good plan. And then the next thing we need to do is, we've been looking at this for probably a year and a half. The university has grown by hundreds of percents. We have doctoral programs now. We're looking at the size of our athletic department. It's unbelievable. We're looking where we compete there. There's so many changing aspects out in the environment. The largest number of students that we have available to us are not the traditional 17 to 20 where we can make a difference. There's going to be a lot of continuous learning going on. So the world's changing around us. Our plan is very, very big and aggressive. So we've been reflecting on what's the best way to organize the university to meet the future. We have three, here's the foci on this. Excellence in learning. The number one thing we have to always do, we are given the ministry to be great educators. That's what we do. Now there's a lot around that, but central to everything we do. We don't have a right to hang out our shingle unless we can be profoundly powerful educators. We have to create an academic community that builds up everybody we admit to a high level of knowledge, inquisitiveness in all aspects we talked about. The second thing is excellence in total student experience, where it's athletics, whether it's campus ministry, whether it's student development, whether it's over in the exchange, all the experience. We have to operate a really large enterprise now, a $150 million enterprise that just keeps growing, and we're in a lot of different places, right? So it's complex. The other thing we need to do is strengthen our institution capacity. The universities they compare us to, on average, have more than double the endowment per student. So we have to work on that, right? We're building little buildings, like an engineering building. Partnerships, you're supposed to laugh, but anyway. I did climb up to the top. It's not little. When you get up there, it's a little scary. You know that scaffolding on the side? It's quite an adventure. It intensifies your prayer life every step of the way. So I didn't fall. I'm here. I've been told not to do it anymore. So anyway, we are doing all this. So the institutional capacity has to grow. Partnerships with other universities, and we have a lot of different ways we're thinking about that. Partnership with healthcare, big thing. Businesses, the engineering firms we almost visit with daily. How we're going to have our students set up well to succeed. What are institutions looking for? They're looking for talent, they're looking for leadership, and they want people from all sorts of different backgrounds. Because that's not only a good thing to do, you can't go forward in modern society if you don't have an eye on that. You can't leave people behind to be successful economically, socially, or culturally. That's just what we have to do. So with those three focus, we started looking at the assignments of our key leaders and how we should build teams around it. So obvious, I don't know if it's obvious to you, but my strengths and talents are more there. I do a little bit of everything around this. But I want to further weight my time and energy. We want to raise $500 million. That's $500 million. That's almost like the government spends money. Like they give drunken sailors a bad name. But anyway, we are going to do that. We're at about 250 now. So we're just quietly chipping away, and then we'll announce in October we're going to go the next part of that. That'll build up our endowment and programs and things you all need, especially for scholarships. This, of course, Dr. Silva has proven himself with his team of leaders. We're going to focus on academic excellence. A lot of times in a university, a provost gets a wide span of control. We'd like to really focus it with the team Dr. Silva's put together and et cetera. So we wanted to create one other area, and the three of us will meet constantly, coordinate that. And the third area is about operation and the total student experience. So what we want to do to re-weight my role and weight Dr. Silva's role, because the top thing is academic excellence. We wanted to have a chancellor of this campus and a chief operating officer for the whole university, so that two other campuses and nodes we have would be well coordinated and benefit from all the talent we have throughout the university. So we're going to have Dr. Silva keeps his title and position, but weighted more to really focus on academic excellence. I'm going to put more and more of my time on strength of the institution, because we're going to have to, like we have been, but we're going to have to continue and even expand fighting above our weight class in terms of fundraising, because you all need more resources. And then I've asked Dr. Britt to expand his responsibilities, and I think we have it up there. I think we want to say Chancellor of Indy Campus and Chief Operating Officer. We got to get used to how we're going to say it. And I want to say a little bit about Dr. Britt before I'll let you say something today. I usually don't share a state of university address, but get an exalted title like that, we have to change our ways. By the way, there's an old saying that's hard to talk yourself out of something you behaved yourself into. And so I imagine we'll have to learn how to do this. And there'll be a lot of details in the coming weeks and months. We'll work on how do we build teams around these three focus, how do we coordinate them. There'll be some change in reporting lines, especially for certain issues, day-to-day stuff. And I'm going to work with the strategic implementation team that, some people I'll work with them on those things, but making things operate day-to-day real well, cohesive manner, we'll have Dr. Britt. But I always look at people in leadership positions, faculty or whatever, and in terms of preparation, God-given talent, calling, motivation, faith, trustworthiness, and character. Then I look at preparation, and then that's all nice because you can put all that on paper. I look a lot when we talk to people about doing more around here or hire them. What are the fruits of their labor? Where's the evidence of success? And when I look at Dr. Britt, first of all, you can trust him. Works very, very hard. He has a calling to the mission of Catholic higher ed. That's worth a lot. I was talking to Dr. Noble today about some other issues. I got a little consumed this weekend reading about the Russian-Ukrainian war. And I don't like to read about war. It's kind of ugly. But there's a great lesson in leadership in that whole thing. The Ukrainian people have a why and a burning what to do in their heart. The other people are on a forced march. The people on the forced march have the material in spades. They have equipment, they're powerful, they're big in history. The other ones, you had soldiers fighting with old guys like me, using 3D printers and making drones that can they would drop the Russians' own bombs back on them because they would dud them out and they'd send them back and they'd actually go off. I mean, all sorts of crazy stories in there. But there's a deep burning why in those folks. So we don't always have everything we need, but when you find someone with a calling and passion for the mission of Catholic higher ed, of Marian University in particular, that's a gem. Preparation. Dr. Britz served as principal, superintendent. We brought him here, and in development, we took a big pump up, raised a lot more money. We wanted to start at National Young Eclipse College. He got it started, hired Dr. Turner and some other great people. That thing's humming. Very, very important. We wanted to rework our marketing and enrollment. Last year we had a record enrollment. We have that situated. It's all set up well now with Jessica Morales-Most and all the people that we've had there. That's been re-engineered to retain, to gain really great success. Dr. Britt also was accepted to a national program by independent colleges to help people prepare for executive positions in higher ed. Went through that year-long program quite successfully. So every step of the way, we see calling, talent, intelligence, skill, preparation. So I said, well, why don't you just take on a few more jobs and we'll give you a different title. And he didn't blink. He said, well, yeah, we could do that. So I'm sure we're going to have to reorganize some other things, but it's really going to set Dr. Silva, who's doing an outstanding job in his team, and I really appreciate what we're doing there, Dr. Silva. You're an outstanding leader. It allows focus. It allows focus to me. And then it'll set us up to continue to grow and meet the challenges of the higher ed sector and fulfill the great journey we have plotted out, journey 2030, Marian 3.0, if you will, for the future. So, Dr. Britt, I invite you to the mic and let you say a few words.
Thank you, President Elsener. Thanks for sharing the stage. I'm glad my wife and family are here for those nice comments that you made. Otherwise, they wouldn't have believed me. I want to thank the Board of Trustees for approving this position and thank the President for giving me the opportunity to serve this university. Not only in this position, but truly inviting me to serve at this university. It's truly a distinct pleasure and honor and privilege for me and for my family. And I want to thank each of you, everybody who is here and those who are not here, who are watching this State of the University. I'm grateful for the work that you do every day to build this great Catholic university. One of the great images that I saw up here that I really was inspired by was the Marian 3.0 image with the city in the background and the bell tower. And that is a great visual image of who we are. That image to the city. We are a great Catholic university in a great American city because of the work that you do and the work that we do every single day. And we're grateful to be able to do this. As you think about, Sister Mary Beth mentioned in her prayer, gratitude and tears. It's been believe it or not, this is my 20th year leading. I was hired as a school principal at the ripe old age of 24. And my wife and I have had a lot of tears during that 2 decades. I remember when I showed up the first week when I was 24 years old as a principal and heard some teachers chattering in the break room, and they said, "Hey, what do you think about Ken being hired as a principal?" And one of them leaned over and said, "Well, I think I've been teaching longer than he's been alive." So that shed a little tear, but we went to work because we know it was God's calling and commitment for what we were to do. And that's to build in our commitment to Catholic education. And this isn't just a journey and a commitment that just started, a few weeks ago. It was a commitment that's really been this burning desire since I met a nice young freshman when I was in college. And I ended up joining the church and made a commitment to Catholic education. And here more than 20 years later. My wife and I, we have 4 children who are here today. And those 4 children, we've had 4 kids born in 4 different states. Can you believe that? So we've traveled around a lot. People ask, were you in the military? No. You a missionary? Maybe. And when the president invited my family to come to Indianapolis, I remember calling it was February 15th, 2013, by the way. I'll never forget that date. I was traveling back, and I told my wife, I said, you're not going to believe what just happened. And I told her, and she said, no, we're okay where we are. We had a great job. And I said, well, we just have to come and meet the president and Mrs. Elsener. And is my picture up there, by the way? Man, that's kind of strange. And we met, my wife was pregnant with our fourth daughter, who is a Hoosier now, and, we left that dinner with President Elsener and his wife, and she just looked at me, she's like, all right, you can't say no to Dan Elsener. And, we can't say no to Dan Elsener now. When he invites you to do something, you do it, right? I'm a very passionate person. I'm passionate because of the calling that we have here at Marian University. It's who I am. The students that we serve, the president talked about that social mobility. That was me, right? We serve a significant number of low-income first-generation college students. My wife and I are the first in our family to receive a bachelor's degree. The calling that we have to be here to serve is that burning desire, and the reason that I hope to make it to 200 years of Marian University. Imagine what that's going to be like. 2051, from our original roots, 200 years later. We couldn't imagine when the president first started where we are today with the medical school and the Klipsch College and the great top-notch business school and now an engineering school. We couldn't imagine that. Imagine what it's going to be like 20 years from now, 30 years from now. We are paving the way for this journey, and I'm humbled to be part of it, and I'm humbled to serve with each of you. Thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you. I'm going to say a couple closing remarks, but I was thinking of something. I remember I was a young principal when I was in my 20s, and I'd hear people say he's pretty good for his age, and I'm hearing it again now, but I think they mean something different. It could happen to you. It happens on both sides of the spectrum. It's a great privilege to serve here. We have a lot in front of us. We're going to go through, tough economic times. We're going to have a recession. It's almost certain. Inflation's tough. We're going to have all this stuff happen. And we're going to have things we can't imagine, right? But the journey in the past, the footsteps in the past, if you analyze them carefully, talk to sisters, read the various books, think about even our years in this century. If you have a deep burning why, you look at a student, what could they be and what could they do and how could they change the world for some students? And you look at the power of a strong liberal arts-based institution with the faith illumination of what can happen in education, healthcare, and ministry, and government, and everywhere else. It's worth the struggle. You also study the past. You know what we've been taught? You stick together. We've learned about community, because some of us will have better days than others, right? And some of us will need each other's creativity, ingenuity, because we'll do it with a little less resource than some of the people that are operating in this sector, but will they have the deep why that we have? That'll be the question. As long as we always find that, give it a lot of thought and prayer, Marian 3.0 is going to be a wonderful thing to be part of. We have unbelievable alumni, very generous donors. People are excited about our future. They're having conversations with us about more super magnanimous, deluxe magnanimous, super everything kind of gifts. And we have great partners coming on board. We're in a great city. We have a big time vision. We have a big time why. We have each other, and we're going to keep marching. Got it? Get it? Let's go. Beat 'em, bust 'em. That's our custom. We have a great homecoming weekend celebration wherever you're at. You're part of this. We'll ship this out to our alum. We're going to have hundreds of people here. Jen Wanning gave me the numbers. It sounds really exciting. Great staff. And we have various parties and things for faculty and staff. Connect with your alums. We're all together. Let's celebrate community that we've been taught so well. Thank you for the privilege of serving with you, and we have a little reception and et cetera outside, and let's enjoy that with one another. I think outside means the lobby. But you could go outside today. It's very beautiful. And let's keep up the good work, pray hard, work hard, and let's celebrate one another's success. Thank you.